Hi, happy Thursday. I'm here a little later than usual because we had a 2-hour delay with my kids for school, and so I'm all discombobulated. But I'm here, and I just wanted to let you know that this week is going to be my last live video until January, because next week I have a holiday party at my son's school, and then it's the Christmas break or the winter break. So yeah, December's already halfway over. But I will be back in January talking more about um, my anti-diet activism. And yeah, so stay strong over these next couple weeks because I know this can be a really tough time of year. And yeah, so in January, I'm going to be talking about resolutions and, health, wellness, and all that kind of stuff. But today, I wanted to talk specifically about the term anti-diet and what exactly that means, and how on earth anyone can ever give up the pursuit of weight loss in this kind of culture that we're living in. So a couple weeks ago, I did a live video on binge eating and what exactly it means, to be a binge eater, and I also talked about some of the other like compulsive behaviors that we can have when we are, what certain personalities that are dieters. What are some ways in which we can recognize compulsive behavior in our lives? And I got a lot of feedback on that video. I had one of the people who sent me, I got a lot of private messages. One of the people who sent me a private message I've been thinking about, she said, I just wanted to tell you I love your video. And she said, I know I'm a compulsive eater, but I never realized the other areas in which I was compulsive in my life. She talked about how she, doesn't drink very often, but when she does drink, she goes all out. And she also feels like she pushes herself with exercise, and ends up getting injuries, which sounds very familiar to me. She also said, and she said, now that I can realize these behaviors, I just need to learn how to fix them. And I've tried letting myself just eat whatever, like in your book. When do I get to the point where I've had enough, like you did with ice cream? I just keep getting fatter. And God, I know that feeling so much when it comes to letting go and feeling like, I don't want to worry about weight loss anymore, and but at the same time, I'm gaining weight, and I don't know what to do. So, for me personally, I've said this before, and I'll say it again: giving up on the pursuit of weight loss was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do. And I'm still doing it, and it's still hard. There was we had a snow day on Tuesday, and my kids and I went to see a movie, and I was in these jeans sitting in the movie theater, and I was crossing my legs in the movie theater and trying to get comfortable, and I was like, God, it's hard to cross my legs, and and like just that one little thing just got me sent into this spiral of thinking about how, like, oh, when is this going to end? And like, oh, am I never going to be able to cross my legs again? Like, it's just like the tiniest little, uncomfortableness with our body just sends, spirals us, or me, into this whole thinking of this like doomsday thinking. So anyway, it's an ongoing journey, but, I think what I try to do when I'm getting frustrated, and I talk about this in the book too, which is like just trying to think about, what am I doing right now that is healthful, and What am I willing to do and what am I not willing to do? And I just kind of go through a list of, am I willing to go back to counting calories and restrictive eating? Hell no. Am I looking out for my health in terms of my sleep? I could probably do better in that area. Am I drinking enough water in this cold, dry weather? I could probably do better. Am I getting enough physical activity? Actually, I think I'm doing pretty well on that front, and and just like going through a list of like what are the positive things that I am doing right now for myself and for my body and for my health, and then and then that's the best you can do. I mean, if you're gaining or losing or anything like that, that is something you need to let go of control over. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. But right now, I wanted to talk about the thing I sort of, said I was going to mention in this video, which is like, how on earth am I supposed to give up on weight loss? And when anti-dieting is one of those things where nowadays the diet industry understands that the term dieting is getting a little bit of a bad rap. So the diet industry talks about things other than diets, mostly, this idea of like, it's not a diet, it's a lifestyle. And the other day I posted on Instagram, is the main purpose of your lifestyle to lose weight? If yes, then it is a diet. Is this new lifestyle you've adopted, does it promise weight loss? If it does, then it's a diet. And I had one person write and said, yeah, so what? And I was like, yeah, I understand that mentality because we all want to lose weight in this world and we're all going to be pursuing it. So why on earth would you ask me not to? First of all, that's horrifying. Second of all, it doesn't sound very healthy. And, and I don't want to live the rest of my life feeling unhappy with my body. And so, sorry, I just got a text that was confusing me. Anyway, I'm sorry, Donna, I totally lost my train of thought. I see you there. Hi. How are you? I miss you. How's Maine? So how are we supposed to give up the pursuit of weight loss? All right, so because that's really what anti-dieting is giving up and recognizing at the end of the day that your body's size, oh, I love you, girl, is that you're recognizing at the end of the day that your body's size is not something you ultimately have control over, that your body's size is something you have been messing with your whole life. And I'm guessing if you're here and watching this video, then a lot of the stuff I've talked about in terms of why our body rebels against weight loss and why we binge eat and why we gain weight after dieting and all of this biological stuff that is the explanation for why you can't seem to keep the weight off. If that is all making sense to you and you're here and you're watching these videos, then you realize that all of this time that you've been messing with your body's size has actually proven harmful and not very healthy. If that is a concept that you are still struggling with, which I get, it's a really, really difficult concept to embrace because we are met with so much information and assurance that this next diet is going to be the diet that works for us. If you are still feeling like you just can't get this idea of why our body is rebelling and why our body hates dieting and why we end up ultimately 95% of dieters end up gaining the weight back and often more. If this is a concept, I talk about it in my book. I also have a long list of books, texts, podcasts, that talk about this issue in greater depth, and I'll post a link to it in this in the comments of this video. I have it on my website. On my website I have a syllabus of all the things I personally have read, and I also found a really great resource in the eating disorder registered dietitians and professionals recommended books list. And I mean, there's tons of stuff that I haven't read, but it's just, I mean, the research out there is exhaustive when it comes to how actively trying to lose weight through food restriction backfires time and time again. So yeah, so I mean, if you're here with me and any of the stuff I've been talking about resonates with you, then think about like that we all have to, we often think if we stop dieting, much like this person who wrote me the letter, I've stopped dieting, I'm eating whatever I want, but I just can't stop eating, and I'm so afraid that I'm going to gain more weight. And a lot of the time that gaining weight is terrifying, and I wish I could say it wouldn't happen when you give up dieting. Sometimes it doesn't. I mean, sometimes when you start concentrating on your lifestyle habits and you get into a point where you're well fed and you stop binge eating and you really start to level out in that pendulum, a lot of people lose weight. A lot of people stay the same. A lot of people gain weight. I can't say which one you will be. For me, I had worked so hard to keep my body weight at an artificially low number that I ended up gaining. But it's something that would have terrified me a few years back. Now, I kept complete faith and trust in my body finding the place it needed to be, and it did. And now I look at my body size like I would my shoe size, or my height, or any other characteristics of my body that I accept and live with and don't question. And I mean, even just saying it out loud, I realize that is a very, very hard thing to do. Especially if you are I mean, I'm lucky and very privileged. I'm a white, straight, cis woman, and I realize that affords me a lot of luxuries in this society. I can still dress, I can still find clothes in a regular department store. That is another luxury that is afforded to me. So I realize if you are marginalized in any way outside of those norms, accepting your body is an incredibly huge struggle when you are faced with people who are telling you to lose weight and not accepting your body, and adding to your marginalization constantly. So I recognize that is really difficult. But I think, I just keep coming back to this point, which is what's worked for you in the past. We're all here because it hasn't worked, and we're sick and tired of it, and we're sick and tired of feeling like, every time we go on a diet, we can't hack it, and we feel like failures, and we end up overeating. And, all of those things that have sort of led us to this point of desperation, those are the things that you think of, I'm choosing health when I choose to stop dieting. And, given the messages we've received in our culture and from medical professionals and, our family and our friends, weight loss is synonymous with health, and that is a very, very just difficult concept to actively disagree with. But I think, at the bottom of your heart, you realize that giving up on the craziness that has been yo-yo dieting and diet cycling and body hatred and shame and secret binge eating and all of that, giving up on that is choosing health. And that's something so important to remember, especially if you find your waistband is getting a little tight. And it doesn't mean that you are going to continue expanding and expanding and expanding forever. Because what you are doing is you're saying no to the prescribed calorie counts and the external measures of, what you should and shouldn't eat, and all of these rules that have been driving you crazy forever. And what you are doing is you're choosing to trust in yourself and trust in your body. And by choosing to trust in yourself and trust in your body, you will find your set point weight. You will find what feels right to you in terms of nutrition. You will find what feels right to you in terms of movement and exercise. These are all things that once you put the trust back in yourself, your body will find those things. You will find those things because you will start to be in a loving, caring relationship with yourself for the first time, maybe ever. And that is where the real magic comes, is that, once you really, really start to trust in yourself, you will find that place where you will settle, and it will feel wonderful. And even if it's not the size you really, really hoped you would be, then that's where the real work starts, which is, I'm not the size I really wanted to be. So what does that mean? I really, really, really want to be smaller than my body has decided I should be. And, I think when I talk about that being the hardest thing ever for me in this whole journey, that was it, which was like when I first approached intuitive eating, I started approaching it kind of like a diet because, that was what I thought. I was like, oh, I'm going to eat what I want, and I'm going to have, proper portions, and I'm going to have joyful movement, and I'm going to do everything right, and I will have fixed myself, and therefore I will find my set point weight, and it will be, a perfect, normal BMI, and I will be effortlessly thin. And that was kind of the way in which I approached intuitive eating. And you can see that that's still like the controlling mindset, which is, I'm going to fix this, I'm going to get this right, and I'm going to, do everything properly. And that, that is the dieting mentality, and it's really hard to get rid of it and just sort of let go and say, you know what, I am just going to trust that I'm going to do everything okay. Maybe I won't, but I'm not in control, and I'm just going to not do unhealthy things, I guess. And again, redefining what healthy means to you, which is health has so much more to do with your relationships and your stress levels and your sleep and your enjoyment of food. So that involves holiday cookies and all of that stuff. When you're feeling stressed out about it, that is so much less healthy than when you're enjoying it. So, that's even one little step you can take over these next couple weeks over the holidays, which is whatever you decide to eat it with joy and not stress. Because, not only are there studies that say your body will actually, get more nutrients out of food when you are enjoying it than when you're eating it stressfully, but you're eating it anyway. So the only thing you have control over in this situation is how much you decide to love it, as opposed to just ramming it in your mouth guiltily. So that was like a little side tangent. Anyway, so what do we do about this idea of like, I want to be smaller than I am? Which is one of those things that, the culture we live in, we have always believed that, I know, Donna says I'm not the size I want to be. Yes, I think that is the biggest thing that any of us have to face, which is, I'm not either. And I wish, if I could wake up one day in a different body, I would. I'm sure many, many, many of us feel that way. But, I think when we start to realize that that's what all of this comes down to, this desperate desire to be different than who we are, that's when we really have to start thinking about, like, where is that coming from in our minds. And this idea that um, we have the choice. We have the choice to decide that we don't like our bodies and be miserable for the rest of our lives, or we can decide that this is what we've got and it's really pretty okay. It's gotten me this far. You know, it gets me up every day. It gets me places. It keeps me alive. It's all it wants to do is to heal me and keep me alive, despite all of the hatred and dissatisfaction I heap on it every single day. And to just say, you know what? I am going to choose to just be okay with the size I am, and try that out. Try that out, and then when you say that, then you can go back to doing all of the things that you do have control over, like, like I was talking about earlier with, like, what am I willing to do? Am I willing to sleep more? Am I willing to drink more water? Am I willing to get out and exercise more? All of those things that you say, am I willing to do? Am I not willing to do? Just doing all of that in terms of caring for the body that you have, as opposed to doing things because if you just get it right, you will get smaller and you will lose this weight and you will figure out once and for all how to have that perfect body and all that stuff we've been chasing for our whole lives. So, so that's what when I talk about true health and wellness, so much of true health has to do with radical acceptance and thinking about your actions and your habits in terms of how they are caring for you, not how they are controlling you and changing you. And accepting our body size in the culture we are in is, I don't even, I keep saying this over and over again, it's hard. And I don't think we should do it by ourselves. I think, we need support. There is so much support out there that I can help you find. But I also feel like, it's just makes sense. And to go back to this idea of, like, constantly dieting and constantly doing things because you're unhappy with yourself, like, it's just, I don't know, it just feels tragic to spend our lives that way. So yeah, so that's what I had to say today about being anti-diet and giving up on the pursuit of weight loss, and how, yes, it is really, really scary, but giving up on the pursuit of weight loss is not the same thing as giving up on yourself or giving up on health or giving up on happiness. It's actually the key to all of those things is to give up on the pursuit of weight loss. And so, I really love the analogy that Anita Johnson talks about in her book, Eating in the Light of the Moon, which is, she gives this analogy of the log, which actually there's a video, so I'll post that in the video notes too. But, thinking about dieting as this log, and you're in the river and you see the riverbank and it's so close, but you don't want to let go of the log because the log is keeping you afloat. And you worry that if you let go of the log, you were going to sink before you can get to shore. And, that's what I think dieting is. It's this log that we've been holding on to for so long. And we really, really want to get to shore. And so what she suggests is letting go of the log for a few seconds and then holding on to it again. And then letting go for a little bit longer time and then grabbing onto it. And just trying little by little to, work your way toward that shore. Nobody's expecting you to just have faith in yourself immediately that you're going to be able to swim to shore. But it really takes a lot of practice in saying, in trying things on. It's just a really great metaphor for this idea of, like what I talked about also, which is like this, giving up on dieting didn't feel like it was the right thing to do at the time. But I got to the point where dieting just felt like the wrong thing to do, and I didn't know where to turn. And so this is, that's the struggle. And it makes the struggle even harder when you feel like, you know, indulging in any kind of foods or even enjoyment of food brings you such guilt, and the fear of weight gain is so incredibly overpowering that you really don't know how to let go of that thinking. So, like I said, hang in there, enjoy yourself, and enjoy food as much as you possibly can as you try to trust your bodies and to trust yourself that you are going to look after yourself, and that the whole reason you haven't been looking after yourself is because of dieting and the dieting industry. So I will be back in January, and I'm working hard on my online course, which I mailed about in my newsletter, and I'm going to send out another newsletter next week talking a little bit more about this, the online course that's coming out in January. But I will be back and in January, so have a very, very happy holiday and a happy new year, and I wish you all the best. And yeah, love you, Donna. Okay, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.